This is Ina Bakumori. They're a Vocaloid producer who's well known in the sphere of Vocaloid for their really unique style and energy to their songs, most of which have me kicking my foot to the kick drum like I have restless leg syndrome. Alongside this fast alternative rock sound, they have a somewhat soft voice accompanying it. Kai Yuki, a Vocaloid whose vocals were provided by an elementary school student. Her voice bank has been used in countless songs, with a lot of them going viral, such as these. And honestly, these artists are kind of why I've fallen down the Vocaloid rabbit hole, no pun intended. So I began to ask myself, could I possibly write something like Ina Bakumori? A producer with over 10 years of experience releasing music, 2 viral songs which blew up with 27 million views on YouTube, and a collaboration on Project Voltage with Hatsune Miku and the Pokemon Company. Well, no, but it should be fun to try. For those of you who don't know me, hi. I am BitCrush Bat, but you can just call me Coda. I am a Bat VTuber and a music producer with very little experience, and I'm making these videos alongside music I write in order to get better and eventually write and release my own music. This is the story of me learning to write my first Vocaloid song. Now, Ina Bakumori got his start as a Vocaloid producer, or a Voca P for short, under a different name, Micho P. A lot of his style was evident from earlier on, which incorporated synthesizers, marimbas, accordions, and other instruments that you don't hear a lot in traditional rock or J-rock songs. His most popular song, Lag Train, features a shakuhachi, a bamboo flute used in traditional Japanese music. Oh, and he also has this song which did numbers on YouTube Shorts and TikTok, and also got an arrangement by the GOAT himself, Mayoshi Tim Henson. Now, the last few videos I did involved some sort of video game aspect, and I wanted to kind of continue that idea with this project. Isabelle from Animal Crossing will be the singer. The idea was simple. Create a Vocaloid from Isabelle. God, I wish it was that simple looking back, but more on that later. Our checklist kind of looked like this. Make a song, make the Vocaloid, make video, profit. I'm not even monetized by YouTube yet. Seems easy enough except a couple of things. I have no clue about anything related to Vocaloid aside from enjoying Ina Bakumori and Deco27. So now's the time to do a little bit of research. I searched up how to make a Vocaloid and clicked on the nearest WikiHow article because I am impatient. Okay, step 1, name. Step 2, design. Step 3, wait, this sounds awfully a lot like making a VTuber. Anyway, we can breeze past a lot of these already because the type of Vocaloid we're making is one based off an existing character. They call this Jinriki. We'll be collecting voice samples from Isabelle in order to make what is called a voice bank. And a voice bank is, well, it's exactly as it sounds. You ever go to a bank to withdraw money, click on the funny little ATM numbers and money pops out? Yeah, it's that, but think of the vocal samples as the money and like whatever sampler plugin that you're using as the ATM. So now we gotta think about the software that we're going to use. And so we have a couple of options. Utao and its successor OpenUtao. They are both free and open source programs meant for this kind of thing. Vocaloid, the program itself, is not free, and there are also not really any tutorials on how to make voice banks with Vocaloid on YouTube, unless you're Krypton. So let's stick with Utao for now. Okay, so we got our workstation, and yes, this looks straight out of Windows Vista. Okay, and this is the part where I grab a day-old Subway sandwich, maybe some hot Cheetos to go with it, and start watching an ungodly amount of YouTube videos about how to create an Utao voice bank. Finished my lunch, and I can't say I understand it exactly. But I know I've got to get some vocal samples in order to get this started. I grabbed a couple vocal samples from the game and isolated as many vowel sounds as I could. The most needed ones were A, I, U, E, and O. But I also managed to grab some consonant sounds too. Now's the time to do what is called otoing. Oh boy. Now otoing is unique in that it felt like something that can be shown, but actually how to do it kind of depends on the situation. Kind of like mixing. You can look up a mixing tutorial, but you can't exactly copy someone else's homework and hope it works well. They have a completely different assignment than you. They're doing calculus and you're probably doing a written response in English class about why John Poetry III mentioned his blue curtains and why it wasn't because he was depressed, but because we gotta act like that's true and that there's no projection from our English teacher going on. Anyway, I watched like 7 tutorials about how to properly oto, and I still didn't really understand it. Anyway, I'm presented with this screen. Now, this just looks like sonar, like I'm 10,000 leagues under the sea. Red, green, blue, and yellow are the little lines that I have to work with, and I'm not sure if we're cutting stuff off or adding a tail, or I don't know. Okay, so it's 3 a.m. and I have not made anything decent, but I've been looking around the YouTube archives and I found this user, Zim, Zimbot, or Zimbo. They have a couple songs with an ISABELLE Utao, which are actually really well done. So I sent them a message on Blue Sky and asked if they had any of the files still. They said sure and sent them to me, and now I have an ISABELLE Jean Riki Utao. Now it's time for the song, which I actually have decent experience on. I wrote a handful of Inaba core songs that go a little something like this. A common theme I've noticed with Inaba's music is there are drums, guitars, bass, synthesizers, a lot of normal things that you'd find in a lot of rock music. But here is where we get a little spicy. In Lag Train, you hear flutes and shakuhachis a lot of the time, and in this song, you hear a synth bass. Now, you can see how Inaba likes to dress up normal elements with something not really seen in the genre. So I tried to do just that. Now my arrangement looks a little something like this. Drums, bass, guitar, synthesizers, flutes. The melody of the song is this line in the flutes. And this synth kind of seasons it. The guitar gives us these chords and a little bit of grit. The bass gives us some rhythm, and yeah. The drums also do this classic J-rock, offbeat hi-hats that we all know and love. Okay, so now for the structure. I structured it how most songs are structured. We got the intro / the chorus, verse, bridge, and the chorus, but it's modulated up a whole step, which is something I've seen in a lot of J-rock music, but I should explain what a whole step is. A whole step is just 2 half steps because 2 halves equal a whole, unless you're British and you call it a semitone, and I don't know why they call it that. So let's take everything we wrote here and just move it up like this. Now there you go, you've modulated up. Now these two things side by side should sound like this. Notice how after it feels a little bit brighter and like uplifting? That's the point. Okay, we're back in Utao, which I really wish I didn't have to say, but we've got the vocals done and ready to go, and now we just gotta export them. I did some light mixing. Basically, I just made sure everything had a good volume and can be heard in the grand scheme of the song. Then I added some EQ, cleaned up any muddiness, and added some reverb for a little bit of space. Oh, and I did add some compression. Thank you so much, OTT. Mixing vocals to the track is honestly the easiest part when you kind of take a step back. I like to think of it like taking a random color of something and kind of blending it to the canvas of something that is already painted. Finally, I added a bit of reverb to widen the sound a little bit, but not too much. One thing I love about Inaba-san's music is that when he uses Kaiyuki, the Vocaloid kind of adds to the music, but in a more instrumenty way, if that makes sense. Then for the chorus, I added double of the same vocal, and then I added the same effects as I did the first, except I panned one of these vocals slightly to the right, like this. Oh yeah, panning is when you do that thing where it sounds like it's coming from one headphone. And then I added a spreader, and no, not like jam, jelly, or marmalade. It basically makes things wider. And there we go. And without further ado, here's my song.